Hello, everyone. How are you this evening? I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us. I'm Barbara Littles, and of course, I'm your host tonight. And I am so excited tonight because I have a woman on here tonight that we're going to talk about leadership. And we're going to talk about women, particularly leading around the world. And we know that we have men that lead at a great pace, but we have women now that are really showing up, or now they're being noticed. Let's put it that way. And so I thought the best person to have tonight to kick off our 6-week series on women leading around the world is Dr. Diana Kenoly. And Dr. Diana Kenoly is a UN ambassador. She's an executive director of the John Maxwell team. She is just so many things, but I'm going to tell you a little story about how I met Diana, but I'm going to let her say hello to you all tonight before I tell the story. Hello, Dr. Diana. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, Barbara. Thank you for having me in your community and to talk about such a dynamic topic.
Absolutely.
So I am glad to be here with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Diana is just a fantastic person, not to mention a dynamic woman. And I just remember, Diana, the first time I met you. Do you remember the first time we met?
I think it was in 2018.
I don't remember. It's just, you know,
no,
some people.
It was 2017.
We were sitting outside,
yes.
Right? At a conference. And, you know, some people come into your life and it's just like you've always known them. So you just can't even pinpoint the different times. Diana was that person. And so we were at a conference together. We were at the same conference. We were sitting outside and we just began to talk. And I remember thinking, she is really a dynamic young woman, right? And she really interested me. And Diana, you are originally from Kenya, right?
Yes.
So Diana's lived in Kenya. She has lived in the UK, and now she currently lives in the US. And so she has had and travels all over the world. I mean, before COVID, I would just call and say, where are you? Where are you now?
I am missing it. I'm telling you.
I know it's hard for her. I would say, Diana, what country are you in? What nation are you in? What continent are you on today? Yeah. So I know this has been an adjustment for you during COVID. But I just want people to know, you know, when I met you, I remember thinking, oh, she is fabulous. She's bold. She's young. She's intelligent. Now, some people, you know, they're young and they're bold. Okay. But she's intelligent on top of it. Okay. And she just fascinated me. And I thought, wow. I said, I'm going to sit here and have a conversation with her. I think we sat there for a couple of hours, Diana.
Yes, we did.
We had great conversation. Yeah. And when I left that conversation, I said, wow, she's going to do absolutely great things. So Diana, say hello to the people tonight and tell us a little bit about who you are. Now, you know, sometimes people meet you and think they know who you are, but tell us who Dr. Diana Kenoly is, and tell us a little bit about your background. I mentioned a couple of things, but tell us a little bit about who you are.
Oh, now I thought you were going to do that part. That's the hard part.
Oh, tell us about you.
So I am just like any other person, grateful to be alive, grateful to be able to serve in the different roles that I get to serve in. And so, and along the way, there have been different things I've been able to do, different places I've been able to go to, different notable people I have had an opportunity to meet that I didn't think would be possible, but for the grace of God, go I. And I currently serve as a United Nations ambassador. My appointment was November 3rd, 2019. And so I'm just getting to learn what this role is, what the expectations are. And it's really about serving. And so being the highest leadership role I have had to date, it's amazing that it is one where I will need to serve the most. And so there are different things. And the beauty of this role is it is so much bigger than I am. And what I mean by that is I realize that a lot of the work that I'm going to be doing has nothing to do with me and has everything to do with those that I have been called to serve or that I am going to be expected to serve. Because along the way, you get to have a say in the things that you want to do, but in other ways, things get assigned to you.
Yes.
And yes, and
So,
you have to um you just have to show up and you have to serve. So something that I did in the month of June was the Day of the African Child. I'd never done anything like that before. I just got a call and I was told you have got to prepare something for 8 minutes. And that's, you would think that it would be so easy, but it takes the longest preparation
absolutely.
time. And so out of that, now I have been asked to speak again on the International Youth Day, which is coming up
Wow.
August 12th. So it's going to be 20 years for that. So this is a celebration for them. And then I've also been asked to serve on a board. So I'm just waiting for that appointment letter to come through. So there's there's different things, but it's really serving
Yes.
and recognizing that you're serving not for yourself. You're serving to make other people's lives better.
Absolutely.
So
And
yes.
I happen to know, Diana, that you really do ascribe to that. I mean, some people say it, but you really do ascribe to it. And one of the things, that I have to say, Diana, I said she's bold, but she's a very humble person. I find you be a very humble person, but I attribute a lot of that to you being a woman of faith.
Mhm.
And that is so much a part of who you are. And so I just want to say, as a representative of the United Nations, that they have the right woman at the table. And so they have the right woman at the table. So I want to talk to you tonight because we're jumping off this series about women. And this could be women, Diana, in business, in in business, in ministry, in a lot of other places, in boardrooms and corporate boardrooms, and in nations. So, we've recognized recently that there are women who are leading exceptionally well during this crisis. I think they've just stood out. We're not saying that other people are not leading well, but these women are leading exceptionally well, especially, and they stand out because there are only 7% of women world leaders.
Yeah.
So talk to that about about that in terms of what you've observed in reference to these women leaders that are standing out now. They're really standing out.
First of all, I think the first thing that I'll say, and I was thinking about this after our talk this morning, is that why does it have to be women leaders? Why can't it just be leaders? When we talk about men, we never ever say men leaders. We just call them leaders. Right?
That's a good question because there are women, Diana, that ask that question. And there are women who don't want to be identified as a woman leader. They want to be identified as a leader. So go ahead.
So I would say that is a great thing to think about. But even with these world leaders, these are heads of nations that we're talking about I think they're about just over 20 nations, and they are leading well because of what they bring to the table. They're absolutely clear about what they bring to their leadership. So, for example, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, okay, she is being really well celebrated right now. But she made up in her mind that she was going to be an empathetic leader. And that's what she has been known for, and that's what she is being celebrated mostly for. And that is going to be the legacy. that she's going to be remembered for. So I would say, women, really be sure about what it is you bring to the table, and do not relent on it. Do not apologize for it.
That's, Diana, that's so important. It's important to know what you bring to the table, because if you don't know what you bring to the table,
Yeah.
other people may not acknowledge that you bring anything to the table. And, over the years, there are certain characteristics in reference to women leaders that have been ascribed to women.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, those are women attributes, they're not really helpful in boardrooms, et cetera, et cetera. So when you talk about the Prime Minister of New Zealand, for example, I think she's just a prime example of being an empathetic leader and deciding, I'm going to care. I'm going to care in a way, and I don't mind showing that. Yeah. And so she's authentically herself. And when you're authentically yourself, how does that affect what you bring to the table?
When you're empathetically, when you are absolutely clear in who you are, you can take decisive action right away. You become a great communicator, in that you're absolutely clear, consistent, sobering, and you're also soothing.
Okay? Now those words that you just used, soothing, empathetic, a lot of people would say those are not characteristics of a leader, but there's a characteristic that you described, especially about this particular prime minister, and she's been described as this, along with some of the other women who are leading these nations, is that she's decisive.
Yes.
So you could be empathetic, you could be soothing, and you could be decisive.
Absolutely. And then you begin to introduce helpful concepts, because life and work are always colliding.
Absolutely.
And being that decisive, you do not peddle in misinformation, blame shifting. You can manage everyone's expectations by being that reassuring voice that they need.
Absolutely. I think also, Diana, that women a lot of times are more collaborative, very collaborative. When we read about these women, one of the things that's been noted about these women that are leading very well is that they're not afraid, and they actually embrace reaching out and collaborating, not only internally, but that they actually reach out and collaborate more so than men externally. So they'll bring people into the circle that they see or where there's a need for to collaborate on whatever it is they're doing. How do you explain that? This collaboration that women do well or seem to be doing well externally and internally. And why is that important?
I think that women are great listeners. And so one of the things that they will always want to do is to make sure before they decide on something, let us talk to those that are affected. Let us get to know what it is they are living out. And so they will not just collaborate where they are. They will also look for what we call multilateralism, which means that they don't mind having those difficult conversations, right? Because that means that we're going to look at who has got the power and why they need to let go of some of that power, because we need to make room.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the time. That's interesting because sometimes it's very difficult for people to let go of what they consider to be their power and make room at the table for other people. And I think that's really important in leadership because, and when you know who you are, and you come to the table, you know what you bring. I've sat at board tables. I remember about a year ago, I was sitting at a board table, and of course, I'm very vocal, and but my gift is strategy.
Yeah.
So whenever something comes up in reference to strategy, I'm talking about it. And I remember there was an issue that came up on something else, and someone said, well, you don't have, I said, no. I said, he actually, and pointing to a gentleman across the room, I said, he actually knows more about this. This is his area of expertise. So it's very important not to be the person who always has something to say.
Yes.
But do I have something to say, particularly in the areas where my strengths are? Mm-hmm. Tell us about when you discovered, or how you discovered your strengths as a leader, and how that made a difference in how you lead or how you come to the table.
So, oh wow, this is, I remember it was November 2017. I was traveling, but this white male leader insisted that he needed to have me on a phone call. And I let him know. I said, I am out of the US right now. Can we do this later? He said, no. So anyway, he got me on the call, and he had a white lady on there, and he proceeded to tell me that he admires my passion. However, my passion comes across as aggression. Now,
we'll stop there. How did you feel when you heard that? Because it's not uncommon for women to hear that. It's not uncommon for women of color to hear that. So what was your initial, well, maybe I don't want to know your initial thoughts when you heard
it. So it was definitely uncommon for me, because I haven't been in the US all my life. So some of these things I just find absolutely unnecessary. So he said what he said, and it literally bruised me.
Stop there before you talk about the bruising, Jai, because you said something that's really critical.
Right.
You said, I haven't been in the US all my life.
Yes.
And so your mindset in reference to some things may tend to be different, and may tend to come across different. I said, when I met you, one of the things that I thought about you is that she walks as a queen. No, seriously. Yeah. I did. I felt you were very humble, but you were, and you always say this to me. You say this to me all the time in conversation. I don't suffer fools gladly. And I don't suffer. She said, I don't suffer fools gladly, Barbara. And but that mindset of knowing who you are, having the ability to stand among people, and in a very humbling way, ask questions or give input, where people may feel like you shouldn't be giving input. Right. So you said this bruised you. This bruised you. So tell us, pick up the story and tell us how and why this bruised you and what you did about it.
So it was something completely opposite from who I am. And in that moment, I realized that there are others who are also just as passionate as I am, but they get a pat on the back. The only difference is we don't look the same. And it took me a while. And as I was navigating it, because I was like, why would you do that, knowing that? So something else that he said to me is that he had been watching me over a year. So if you have been watching me and you notice that I might be doing some things in a different way, why didn't you come up to me back then? Why wait until now? But it let me know something. Number one, there is a narrative out there about you, whether you know it or not. Your job is to find out. Then, if you don't like that narrative about you, pick one that you want to be representative of you. That is your responsibility. What other people think about you is their business. What you think about yourself is yours.
Wow.
And so it got me on a path to determine what am I good at. And so sometimes we can tend to get lost, or we can tend to use the excuse of I don't know what I need to do and all that. But there is the Clifton's
Strength finder.
Strength Finder,
Mm-hmm.
and that will tell you 5 things that you are great at. You only need 5. And I worked at those, and I do every year to remind myself of who I am and what I do well.
Absolutely. You know, I love what you said about it's our responsibility.
It is. Yeah.
It's our responsibility. We can't control what other people think. We shouldn't try to control what other people think. God has not given us that charge. But we do have control over what we do, how we go through life, how we treat people, and eventually how we lead. And so you find out now what your strengths are. Yeah. And you say, I'm working on my strengths every year. And I want people to understand, as we're talking about coming to the table, this proverbial table that we're talking about, what we're really talking about is women being at the table of highest leadership in organizations and in various structures. Because sometimes we'll say, you know, oh, well, we have a lot of women leaders, but that they are at their highest table. And I think, Diana, when we don't have people, especially of different genders, because we tend to be socialized differently also. But as women, we're very resilient, we're innovative, we're creative, even if you are home with your children. Because sometimes women who are home with their children and have made the choice to stay home with their children and raise their children don't see themselves as leaders. However, they are every day probably doing one of the most important jobs there is, and that is leading and producing productive citizens of of the world. So I think it's important for us to, in terms of self-esteem, and looking at young women and girls, and to help them to develop that self-esteem. Tell us about how your self-esteem and your confidence has changed over the years as you've been exposed to ideas and principles about leadership.
So I have always kept in view the 5 things. And what then I do is I always look for alignment. If whatever I'm being asked to do is not in alignment with them, it's a clear no. And I don't feel bad about it. Because if I do something that is not in alignment with what I am absolutely great at, I am being very irresponsible to myself and to those that I am supposed to be leading.
And I think as faith, we're being irresponsible with the gifts that God has given us.
Yes. It is.
Yes.
It is your job to find out what are those gifts, skills, talents that God has put in you, and to develop them.
Absolutely.
So then, now that you brought that in, great thing that you said, it says that your gifts will make room for you and bring you before great men.
Absolutely.
Some translations say your gifts will open doors for you and lead you to important men and women. Okay, so if what you're doing right now is not leading you there, then we need to
shift. We need to pivot. Yeah.
And so in between you knowing what are those gifts, talents that you have, and you getting to those before the great men, women, in between that is your job. That is personal development. It is your job to master whatever has been put in you, and every year to get better at it.
Diana, it is about what's in your hand.
Yes.
And what's in your hand. And we each have a responsibility to know what God has placed in our hand.
Yes.
And like you said, to develop that, to hone that gift, and to actually, like you said, bring that gift and offer it to the world. And that's the way we serve. When we serve outside of our giftings, our callings, and our abilities because of what other people think we should be doing,
it is chaotic.
It's chaotic. It is chaotic. So speak to us about working outside of that space, Diana, and it being chaotic. Hi, Pastor Angie. I see you.
I don't know how to live in a chaotic place. I am out. At the first sign of it, I am out. Because there is nothing good that is going to come out of it. And more than anything, consider you are in a place that someone else is supposed to be in.
Wow. So, wait, before you don't move too quick. You're throwing out some golden nuggets here. If you are in a place that is not your gifting, so not only are you cheating yourself, but you're cheating someone else because you're in somebody else's place.
Yes.
Wow.
And what are you doing in someone else's place? That is very irresponsible of you. And leadership demands that. So the world does not need perfect leaders. The world needs leaders who want to be better at being effective in their leadership.
Okay, so tell us the difference. You've made a distinction here, so now you have to walk us through it. You've got to walk us through it.
So a leader who desires to be perfect is going to find themselves in places that they are not assigned to. And they are most likely going to be emulating someone that they think is perfect and not be themselves. So they lose that authenticity.
Wow.
A leader who wants to be better is humble enough to recognize I can do better, or I don't have all of this together.
Or I don't know all the answers.
Yes. And saying I don't know.
I need help. Right. we all need help.
Right. And that is where autocentric leadership comes in. And that's where the leader removes themselves from the center and puts in the center those that they are called to serve.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think women tend to do that so well?
Because it is something that they have mastered.
How have we mastered? How have we mastered that, Diana? When you say that's something we've mastered, why is it something that we tend to, more so than others, tend to master?
Because I think growing up, it is something that we have seen, we have observed. I was trying to remember, I think it's in the past 10 years, there was some research that came out saying that women who have been in the home, right, would make the best CEOs because they are used to dealing with difficult people.
Yes.
They're used to dealing with irrational people, because it's like you'd be like, okay, we have just calmed you down, take a nap, and then all of a sudden they lend more to being calm in the midst of all of that. You know, so like, I mean, you would, get up, have everyone ready, we have to go out at this time, and all of a sudden here comes the baby, throws up on the nice outfit that you have planned, and you have to pivot. You have to shift really quickly and be like, we can't be late, we got to change this, and still make it on time and look like you have it all together. And that's what we need. That's what
absolutely. Absolutely. Diana, I think it's so important to point this out because a lot of times, women walk into places and don't really understand our value and what we bring. I have so many women that say, I don't know what I'm good at, or I don't know what I bring. Or they will say this, I'm just a mother. Ooh. And I always stop women and correct women about that. I'm just a mother. I'm just home raising children. Well, first of all, a lot of women are there, and they're the CEOs during that time. They are the CEOs of their homes, and so when that father comes in or that husband comes in, they are sharing and co-parenting, hopefully. But there's a greater responsibility that women a lot of times take on for longer periods of time. And when we think about women, working inside the home a lot of times and outside the home, there are so many attributes that things that we bring. We are resilient. Women are very resilient. We're flexible.
Yes.
We're flexible. And so those attributes tend to really lend itself well. And we tend to be conscious of other people's thoughts and their feelings in the moment.
Yes.
Yes.
And something else that I would like to add to that is we have to learn how to give it a name.
Give what this is good, Diana. We talk about give what a name.
To give the things that we do well, give them a name.
Give us an example.
Just like what you mentioned, being more adaptive, being more flexible. There's just so much just in that. Even as we think about this a global pandemic, I think men are now beginning to realize, like, wow, my wife does a whole lot.
Oh yeah, I've heard that, Diana. I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
And there is nothing like having to be like, hey, walk a day in my shoes, but now it's been walk some months in my shoes, and they're like, we need to get back to work. We need to get back to work.
There's a whole nother level of respect, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes.
For what for what we do, as women, and I think that things have changed and are changing over time. And I think that is being evidenced in where we are seeing women show up, whether it's in the church, Diana, because I think all places are behind in terms of involvement and inclusion of women. And we don't mind including women. We think it's wonderful to include women because, they say if you want something done, give it to a woman, right? Women tend to get things done. I do think where we have been absent and where we tend to get a little pushback is when we start talking about the higher levels of leadership. The higher levels of leadership. So you're okay doing the administrative stuff. And there's nothing wrong with that because somebody has to do the administrative stuff. But you know what, Diana? All women are not good at administrative stuff.
No.
Okay? All women are not good at bookkeeping or taking notes. All women are not good at that. There are some women, and it's not because they're trying to be a man, it's that they've been gifted with other skills and abilities. And so for us to understand, no matter what we do or where we are, to take our place. Yeah.
So one of the things that I had to learn in that 2017, 2018 was also asking myself, whose table are you at? And I think that is such a powerful thing to do because there's the babies a table, the teenagers a table, the young adults a table, and then there is the decision making one.
And
most of the time we are put in different places to prevent us from being at the decision making table.
Okay, now. Well, you know what? I do think something we have to be very conscious of, because really when I'm talking about a seat at the table, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the decision-making table. And I want women to be conscious of this. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't be at other tables. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be at tables because I think every table that someone sits in, other table I've ever been at in my career, it's helped me to sit at the next table.
Right.
There's maturity that has to take place.
Mm-hmm.
The higher the table, the more maturity there has to be, the more discernment there has to be. For those of you who don't know discernment, intuition.
Right.
You have to exercise those things. The higher the level, the table, discretion has to be, and you have to walk with wisdom. The higher the table is that you're sitting at. So it's a progressive thing. The problem is that ceiling that we like to call the glass ceiling tends to be, no matter how I get intelligent I become, discerning I become, sometimes I'm not invited to the decision-making table. Now, I'll get your ideas, Diana. You've got good ideas, right? But if Diana has good ideas, if she has wisdom, if she has integrity, if she has all of those skills, then at some point you have to say, well, you know what? I need to move over and make room for Diana at this decision-making table.
Yes. So the issue with that is when we come to multilateralism, is the dominant powers do not want to give up power.
Why is that, Diana? Why not give up some of that power? Why?
Because
it's so obvious, right?
Huh?
She said, why are you asking me that? It's obvious.
No, but it is just because they feel that they deserve to be there. But you see, leadership is really changing. It is so dynamic. It is changing. And I'm so excited about the young leaders that are coming up.
Well, let me say this. I know you are, because Diana, for people who don't know, has been leading a global mastermind. And I mean global. I mean, she's had people from all countries, continents, every place on her mastermind. And I noticed that on a lot of her masterminds, she's had people that they're young.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of these people, I'm listening to them and they are brilliant. And I'd get off the phone and I'd say, Diana, how old is that person? Or the person would say, oh, I'm 29. And I'm like, what?
24, yeah.
Talk to us about what's happening, because we don't always see this. So, and we don't understand this. What's happening globally? And how do you think women and young women are leading even different than maybe 20 years ago?
So I think that young women are tired of not seeing representation. That is a problem. If I'm looking up and I cannot see myself, it's very difficult for me to become or to even believe that you really care about me. It's just not enough to say it. And so now what they are saying, number one, is don't talk about us as the leaders of tomorrow. We are leading now. You are just not noticing that we are.
Oh, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. When you've looked at, even in the United States, when you've looked at what's happened in this country, a lot of the people that you're seeing out in the forefronts are young people. And we've just lost several icons, not even in the past week, but the past year. We've lost icons in the civil rights movement. And we're looking around saying, well, who are the next leaders? Okay. And they're there, but they are leading very differently than we led 30 years ago. Yeah, go ahead.
So we have got to learn to see them and to help them unlock whatever is within them. And those that have moved on, they are literally making room for the next ones.
Absolutely.
And so we have got to begin to look at ourselves and say, for the next 10 years,
come on,
how are we going to develop and make room so that by the time they get to where they need to be, they will be ready?
Absolutely, Diana.
So our
That's intentional too.
Yes. So our assignment right now is to really develop them to become the best leaders. Let us give them something that we never had.
Mm, mm. That's good because a lot of us, fell into leadership, and
Yeah.
we figured it out. We
Mhm.
figured it out. Um, and so that's why I'm doing this series, Diana, because
I
what I
think
want
it
to
is
do,
amazing. I think it is so
yeah,
powerful and
I'm
just love it.
I'm doing this series, and I'm going to start out with younger women
Hmm.
and girls, young women, and see how they're leading at the place that they're at. They may not be the person who has 30 years of experience, but leading from where they are and their thoughts. I want people to hear their thoughts about leadership, about how they're moving through life. But in each one of the series, each one of the programs, what we will do is I will have that younger woman on, but I'm plan to connect her at the time of the series. I will connect her with a woman that's more seasoned. So we
That
will
is
hear,
so
yes.
powerful.
So we will hear from the young women for the next 6 weeks.
Hmm.
And at the end, about 15, 20 minutes before the show is over, I
Hmm.
will introduce a more seasoned woman to that young woman who's leading. And they will be somebody who's, you know, interested and have done some of the things that they want to do.
Hmm.
Because I think, Diana, you're absolutely right. We have to make room for them. We have to teach them. We have to show them the way. And not only that, but be the person to pass the baton and
Yes.
say, hold on, I'm going to introduce you into rooms. I need to introduce women who are younger than me into rooms that I have been able to go into and to bring those women into those rooms. So talk to us about, why that is so important. I think it's so important for us because it's not about us. You said the service is not about us.
No. Like by now that should be absolutely clear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what you just talked about is the power of mentorship.
Yes.
It is the
Oh.
most powerful way to learn. L- And I think for young people, I have four things that I would say to them. The first one is learn about leadership,
Mm.
laws of uh, of leadership. Learn them well because you will need them.
Mm-hmm.
The next one
Oh,
is go on.
I was just going to say,
Hmm.
learn them,
Hmm.
live them, and then
Live,
teach them.
teach them.
Because,
And then the
yeah.
next thing is have a picture
Mm.
for where you are going.
Oh, wow.
And don't look at what has happened in the past unless you want to learn something,
Mm.
right? The next thing is that fight for where you are going. Nothing comes easy,
Oh, wow. Diana,
right?
say that again.
Fight for where you are going to.
Mm.
Your calling, your assignment is yours, right? Maneuver if you have to. Sometimes it will come up in, like, parts of it. It might not look like the whole picture, but just live it out. Patience,
Mm.
right? And with whatever difficulty, I say all lessons are things that God would have us learn.
Mm.
Nothing is for nothing, right? Because there is value in you and in what you have been assigned
Mm.
to.
Mm.
The next thing is to develop a posture of just being absolutely grateful for where you are. Um,
Why
because
did you include that?
Gratitude because it will give you more than what you get
Mm.
when you get to where you are going.
Mm.
Because sometimes the celebration that you might have in mind for where you are meant to be does not look like the way that you thought it would
Absolutely.
be. And many times when you get to that place, there are some things you have been through,
Mm.
you know, and so you cannot let what you have been through keep you from being absolutely grateful for what you have had to go through. So, because that also helps you not to be resentful,
Yes.
bitter,
Bitter.
arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
In spite of everything, find your way to being grateful.
Mm.
And finally, and that is so key because murmuring and complaining makes God angry.
Wow. Woo! All
Makes
right.
God angry.
You laying it down, Dr. Diana. You laid it down. You laid it down on us. I love those things. I want you all to go back and listen to what's been said. We're on the battlefield, and one of the things that Diana said tonight that's so important is to have mentors.
Yeah.
And to be willing to listen and to be coachable. And really that's whatever age you are. I don't care what age you are. You could be 50 years old, but have mentors and be willing to consider and be willing to reach across the aisles and collaborate with other women. Know that there's room for all of us.
Yes.
And there's room for all of us, and celebrate. When Diana was talking about gratitude, shows up in our ability to celebrate other women. And not walking in the room thinking that there's only one of us that should be here. Celebrate other women. And when someone else, when it's their turn to take center stage and to be in the spotlight, you celebrate. Don't ever let yourself get to the point where you cannot celebrate or will not celebrate another woman.
And I think that you do that absolutely well. One of the things that I am really grateful for when it comes to you is that I can always lean on you for when I'm thinking about doing something. Sometimes I will pick up the phone and say, okay, Barbara, this is what I'm thinking. And you're like, send it to me first.
And look, I try to leave the spirit of it in there and what she's doing. Okay. But I think this is so funny because like, okay, but girl, you're gonna go off the cliff. You don't want to go off the cliff. Now you may want to go to the edge, Diana, but you don't want to go off the cliff. And this is the reason why, because sometimes when people have mentors or coaches or things, they think, okay, don't try to tell me what to do. But the reason is because I see so much in you that has yet to come forth. And I think we have to remember this when we are talking to younger women. I see so much in you that yet to come forth. I don't want you to kill it before it comes forth, right? So I'm like, okay, you can say that. Okay, you can let that out. What's the intent of what you're trying to say?
Or you will be like, so now let me ask you this. When you go and you talk about that there, how does that align to where you're meant to be? And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yes, because my interest is making sure. Listen, we have to understand that there are boulders, there are giants, and there are traps.
Oh, for sure.
And the enemy will send those traps. And so if I can see a trap, I say, no, girl, we got to get you where you're supposed to be. We have to get you to that table. We've got to get you to that boardroom. And so, it's strategy. But I just love you, Dr. Diana. I love you. I am just elated with the privilege of watching you and how God is using you in this season. and how he's using you in this season to sit at table, because he has set a table before you in the midst of your enemies. You have to remember that.
Yes.
And at that table, when you say, you represent, you have a quote that you always say by Maya Angelou. I think it's by Maya Angelou.
Yes.
Share it with them.
I come as one, but I stand as 10,000. So I am always mindful about that. That's why it is nothing to me to say, do you think this is going to be okay? Because I recognize I'm not representing myself.
Mm-hmm. And it's a bigger picture.
It's
a bigger vision.
It's a bigger picture,
yes.
a bigger platform. And guess what? All eyes are on you. And sometimes they're not on you for the wonderful work you will do. It is
right.
to watch and see, oh, there we go. Fall.
Yes.
And
so we have to help each other to get to the table, and we have to help each other and embrace each other in terms of how do we represent at that table. And when our sister represents, well, girl, I said, Diana, you represent it well. You represent it mighty, mighty well, girl. You represent it well. And we have to do that. I want to just implore all the women to embrace. And if you have a problem, if you find, you have to get real with yourself. If you have a problem embracing other women and rejoicing other women, I'm going to tell a story about Pastor Angie Loggins is on here. I want to tell a little story about her.
Okay.
But we have to get to that point where we embrace women because it is important in them taking their journey. So I see Pastor Loggins on here. And
so just one very quick thing.
Yes.
Know what you need and take the time to learn. Leadership values. The next thing is learn whatever issues you have. Those are the things that are going to literally trip you up. If you can take the time to do that. So I am doing two things right now. I
want to talk about that. Wait.
Okay.
I'm going to bring him in. I'm going to bring it home. Okay. All right. So I want to say this because I think it's important for us to continue to embrace women, and sometimes it's the little things. I remember Diana 18 years ago joining a church structure that I had not been familiar with, that I had not been involved with. And I remember Pastor Logan, she's pastor now, but she's always a beautiful woman.
Right.
Just beautifully embraced me. And let me tell you something, people don't always remember you, but they remember how you made them feel.
For sure.
You will remember that man you talked about because of the way he feel.
Yes.
I remember her because of the way she made me feel that day, and every day since. I just want to publicly thank you, Pastor Loggins, as you're on here. Now, I want to thank, because people always say to me, Barbara, you sow into people's life so gratefully. But so I wanted to acknowledge her, because she was one of the women that sowed into my life at that time, where I came to a place where I didn't really know anybody, and felt a little okay, and she embraced me. But there are some things, Diana, that you are doing now in reference to values. And I want you to tell us why that is so important. There are a lot of things that you teach on and train on in terms of leadership, but you've chosen values. Tell us what you're doing and why you chose values. Why is that important?
So it is very important, Barbara, because I look around at how talented so many people are. Great talents and gifts. And it only takes one leadership failure, if I can even use that. And you will see how everyone will come for you. So I thought to myself, what if I could make an environment where we can come and learn leadership values, and so that you would know whatever you need will be there. You might not need them all, but at least it is there.
Mm.
Right? Because a lot of the times it is because of our value systems that we literally fail.
Absolutely, Diane.
You know?
It shows up in our character.
Yeah.
And your gift has the ability to take you someplace where your character cannot sustain you.
Yes.
So that's why it's what you're doing is so critical. It's not people say, well, you know, I know my values are, well, you know, but we asking every day to be seated at tables. Mm-hmm. And the higher that table is, you're going to be challenged as to who you are. Yep. You're going to be challenged as to your character. So you have to be able to identify those values and know what they are and live by them so that your inner circle, your inner conscience, your inner spirit could call you in when you start getting too far off track. So tell us about your program. It's how many weeks is it? And I know you've already started, but how can people hear more about it?
So they can reach me. They can find out more about it on dianakenoly.org. It's on there. I'm going to launch the 6-month program for the values in October. Mm-hmm. But the other one that I'm doing is the 12 elements of trust. Because it is those issues are going to make you fail too. And many times it has to do with you, not anyone else. It is a you and you thing, you know? And so taking the time and making sure that you are developing yourself to be the best leader that you can, then that gives God room to do only what he can do.
Wow.
You know? So do your part and then let him do only what he can do. So I say this. I say only ask God for things that he can do. Everything else, it is you. You can learn how to become a better leader. You can learn how to deal with your own issues, trust issues, owning your own self, looking and saying, actually, I don't like that person because I'm the one that has the issue. Ooh. And I cannot lead if I have not dealt with that thing in me. So that is another 6-month program that's going to launch in September. But as soon as I have that, I will send over the information to you so that you can share with your
I most certainly will. And if you're not on my email list, I think most of you are, but if you're not, you can get on the email list, go to my website. And when Diana launches that, I'll be glad to send it out because I am all about promoting women and people, but promoting women in particularly who God is trying to take to that next place. And we have that responsibility. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Diana, Dr. Diana Kenoly, thank you for the kickoff tonight. And so you have placed us and you have prepared us for this series that's coming up. Tomorrow night, we will have our first person on the series, and that will be Simone Vaughn.
I'm excited for all these young people. Yes. I want to learn from them.
Absolutely.
I want to listen because that is something that we have tended not to do. Is we don't listen to them.
We don't listen and hear where they are and say and listen. And when we're listening for how can I help her get to that next place?
Yeah.
Okay. So she's a delight. She's going to be on tomorrow. She's young. She's vibrant. She's beautiful. And she's Miss Saginaw County. And we're going to be talking about leading with a crown.
Beauty and brains.
Beauty and brains, honey. Yeah. All right. So thank you all tonight. Thank you for being on with us. Thank you, Lula, BC. I see a bunch of people that are on tonight, and we just want to thank you. Share. So you can share the video tonight with people so we can get people on for the next couple of weeks. And Diana, I'll look forward to bringing you back. We will also have, during this 6 weeks, it may end up 2 weeks, but we will have women from across the world. We will have
Oh,
Barbados,
totally.
we
Awesome.
will have the UK, we have Africa. So we're going to have women, literally leaders from across the world. Join us, okay? But thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Kenoly.
Thank
Love
you
you
so
much.
much. Thank you. Love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.